Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the part two of this series. There's something I learned that if your kidney functions fail completely, unless you receive like dialysis or kidney transplant, then you cannot live. I mean, that was what I learned, but I'm not sure. And then, so in this second part, we are going to be talking about, the treatments of kidney disease, side effects of not using the medication and all that. So that we know our audience will be aware of the available options that they have, when they experience things like this. So I'm going to first start with like what is for treatments, what are the options that are available
Yeah,
for people
good
living with kidney
question.
disease?
Um, well, first of all, let me just validate what you said. It is so true. If you have kidney failure that has failed, that you can absolutely can leave. You have most likely, if your kidney is completely failed, you have about maybe 2, 3 weeks or a month left because your
Mhm.
body is just building toxins. Everything you eat, you can't detoxify it, and your body is just you just swole, and it will lead to your demise. So the option, though, when you find yourself in that situation, and then, of course, you do this in consultation with your doctors. Um, there is peritoneal dialysis, and your doctor will tell you if you qualify for peritoneal or hemodialysis. When I actually got diagnosed, I started with peritoneal dialysis, where just simple peritoneal dialysis going through your peritoneal cavity right into your stomach, and it's able to filter and process um, the blood that way. Um, and then if that's not an option for you, you can now go to home hemodialysis. Eventually, peritoneal dialysis was not a good fit for me, so I had to go into home hemodialysis.
Oh,
And home hemodialysis, like you have a shunt right in your hand. They just start with your hand and where the shunt is located, and sometimes goes into your groin, and or maybe your subclavican right here. But these are only just temporarily. But ideally, it's in the hand, and that shot is connect. I use a needle, and that needle stick myself or my wife sticks me, and from there we connect that. The blood is pulled off from my body into a machine, cleans it up, and brings it back to my system, back to me,
wow.
cleaned up. So that is dialysis in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I mean, like you just said, you do yours at home.
Yeah,
So, what type do you do? Okay, because you said the peri
the peritoneal
wasn't.
was the one I did initially, and it didn't was not a good fit.
Why
And
wasn't it a good fit?
because you're doing it in the stomach, to the stomach, to the peritoneal cavity here, that acts like a filter,
Oh,
right? And so when you do it, yeah, somehow you could get predisposed to a hernia. But it's like, so it's not, so I was getting predisposed to hernia.
no.
So they had to doing it and go into the use home hemo. Although peritoneal is a really is a good start, because you can do that by yourself,
Oh,
most likely. You could just like, it doesn't even require any machine. It's by gravity. It's like you have fluids, and it's through osmosis, where it just you put in a fluid in your body. They call it diacylate, and that dialysate is able to pull out sins of your body, and so you can do that yourself, and it flushes it out. But just given the fact that it predisposed me to a hernia, I had to stop it. And then we had to transition to home
Hemodialysis.
hemodialysis, which is blood, blood filtering blood. That's why it's called home hemo. It is
okay.
blood. And peritoneal, you're using the peritoneal cavity to do it.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. To make it a little more concise, right? Like, so the peritoneal dialysis, it's like my husband rightly said. you why many people sometimes have challenge doing it, because what happens is that there's a particular kind of solution that is in a layman word, that solution is strong enough to use to clean the blood. So what happens is that a system is set up. It has a mini machine, not very big, and so technically the machine will flow through, make that fluid, which is like the kind of water that is mixed with some other minerals, and you will have to carry that fluid, lots of, sometimes it's like 4 5 liters depending too, in your stomach.
Mm.
And what that happens is that after some time, if the individual, like the muscles are not very strong enough, also because of, it could be as a result of age, it could also be as a result of different kind of muscle that people have, it's predispose that person to be able to have like the muscle over time would get like reduced. Um will And that is what
Basically,
causes
about
hernia.
weekend, and
Yeah,
that's what
it will be
that leads to
weakened, and that's
hernia.
what causes hernia. Then the other option is the hemodialysis. And hemodialysis, it could either be done at home or it could be done at the clinic. What we do is the one we do at home. The hemodialysis, hemo is technically a word for blood.
Mm.
With the peritoneum, you don't get to see any blood. That is why most people like that. You don't see any of your blood. But with hemodialysis is blood dialysis. So what happened is that there will be what we call like an access, and it's called a fistula. It could either be a fistula or a cannula, will be a catheter will be placed up here or some other parts of the body, right? But the way it works is that the what is termed like the bad blood will be pulled out of your body. Remember, because we said that the kidney is the filter, right?
Yes.
And there's no filter working anymore. So there's a dialysis machine that now has an artificial kidney place,
Filter.
which is artificial filter. So the bad blood will be put from the body either through the fistula or any other kind of access, and it goes into that machine that has a filter that acts as a kidney, and that filters the blood. And there's another kind of like a tube that brings the clean blood back. So that is just how the dialysis works. It takes the bad or the blood that is dirty, cleans it, and give the person back a clean blood. And it could circulate because the body has like a lot of blood for it to run through.
Let me just follow up on that. And use the word there. It's like the blood is the blood. The blood is good. It's just that there's toxins that build up in the blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the blood is going into the machine, and the blood and the machine is able to purify and clean up the blood.
Yeah.
And then after it does that, it returns that blood back into my body. So essentially doing the work of the kidneys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during that process is, I mean, are you usually asleep, or I mean, can you stay awake while that is happening?
Yes, I could stay awake. I could sleep. I could stay awake while doing it. In fact, after I leave the session, when I go home today, I'm going to be doing dialysis, and it's just like 6 o'clock now. So I anticipate I'll be getting on the machine like 11 o'clock tonight and sleep on it uh, until 6 o'clock in the morning when I get off. So essentially, I'll be on the machine for 6 hours,
Mm.
and yeah. But the sleep I sleep is half sleep. My one of my eyes open and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
looking.
because
You
something is
know,
in,
um,
cooking. I mean, on your body, and
well, you never know. I mean, you don't you sleep a light sleep. You don't
Also for
really,
safety,
you
even
know,
though there are
yeah,
safety measures to kind of tell you what if something is going wrong in the machine, there should be like some some alarm that will beep. But it's just like a normal human body.
yeah,
You feel like something is not completed, so you
exactly.
sleep, and it's just like
You
you
sleep
you you're
completely.
expecting a visitor, and you said you want to take a nap, right? Your part of your ear will be out for the door.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's just
exactly.
how it goes.
Oh, that's
And
really
it could be
good.
done in the morning, it could be done any time of the day. But for working class people and for young people, because they have to go to work during the morning, is what they do, what they call like nocturnal dialysis. But most times that is done like at home. But for people that goes to the clinic, they have to go in there to do the treatment because not everybody have the expertise, or not just the expertise. People want to feel like secure that I don't want anything to go wrong, and they go into the clinic to do that.
Oh, okay.
And but I'll say, the process is not something to worry about or to be trained or scared about.
It
If
comes with
you
training. It
it comes
comes
to
with
training,
training. Yeah.
so and you can't go through any short course. So if you follow the process and you got the process down, eh, nothing should happen. This stuff is science. It's based on science. It's based on a protocol. So if you follow that protocol, nothing's going to happen. It's so nothing we get nothing to be worried about. You can go to the center and have it done. It's just that the center will not give you. And I want to give you the center the most they will give you is 3 to 4 hours.
Mm,
You
okay.
know, and again, that's not enough time to really uh, purify to have if your body have like 64 liters or 84 liters, it might need 3 hours might not be enough to purify that amount of blood. So by you doing it at home, you have enough time to purify it, your blood, and getting rid of the toxins is what getting rid of toxins will make you feel more healthy, more
Mm-hmm.
stronger. When there's toxins built up in your body, it really leads to a lot of fatigue and a lot of and your body begin to deteriorate because over time those toxins would take their toll.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, like you said, you do the home dialysis. So is it something you can do yourself, or do you need a support?
Something you can do at home by yourself. There, you also need support. Support is actually ideal. Usually you can go solo, meaning that your doctor could allow you to do it yourself. I mean, and there's some states where they will not allow that. I think California, you could do it. You could do it yourself, but you have to check tough. Like you met the right standard to be able to do it by yourself. But it does help if you have help. It does help if you have a partner
Yeah.
uh, to be an extra set of eyes. Um, it does help because sometimes you can get really burnt out. It's also very time consuming.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
said six
yeah,
hours.
6 hours is just
Mm.
6 hours. It's not the setup of the machine. It's not after you get off again where you now have to take yourself off and put stuff away.
Yeah.
It's very involved. But it's the price you pay.
Yeah.
The price you pay to try to live a good quality of life.
Mm.
You know, so I'm willing to pay that price any day.
Yeah.
Um,
And just for like a disclaimer, this is no professional advice. We're speaking like from our experience. And for every kind of dialysis that will be prescribed, the doctor will prescribe what is appropriate, like the duration of time, and also the particular type that that patient needs to do, right? We speak from experience based because not everybody can have the privilege or have the strength body system to be able to tolerate like a long dialysis treatment. But the treatment that your doctor or the duration of time that a doctor provides to a greater extent will still be able to sustain and able to sustain that individual. We decide to do the home hemodialysis because it's more convenient and we could also control our time. And the truth is that see it as like your kidneys are supposed to be working 24 hours every day, right? So the longer of dialysis time you have, the better that person will feel. But if your doctor prescribe a shorter time, that doesn't mean that is wrong. It's just what is prescribed for you, and they could always have more systems that will work for you. So
Okay, good
just
to
to
know.
clarify that.
Okay, thank you for doing that. And like the machine, is it like a portable machine? Can it be moved around
yeah,
or okay?
the machine at home is a next stage machine. Um, Quite portable. Um, the size of what would I say? It's the size of a small fridge, like
Mm,
a small, like a small fridge, if you will, or for those of us in Nigeria, the size of a small generator,
Oh, okay.
right? Uh, yeah, that's what you can
Yeah.
compare it with,
Oh,
give
okay.
you an idea of what it looks like.
And that is one of the advantage of doing the home hemodialysis, right? Because it gives you the flexibility to travel. You
Mhm.
could, especially within the United States and to some other countries where you have the opportunity to, you could package your machine. And if you're in the United States, the airlines, you have lost some consideration to be able to do that. So one big benefit of the home hemodialysis is that you could travel with it
Oh,
because you're
really?
able to do it by yourself. So you're not kind of like restricted to say,
Yes.
okay, I do dialysis, I can do like we make trip, we just have to make arrangements to ensure like we have our supplies and everything be delivered to us.
Oh, that's great that airlines actually support that.
Yeah,
Yes, they
and
do.
that's etched into law that you
Mhm.
have to complete dialysis machine, and I don't have to pay extra
Oh,
to
that's
actually it's not just for dialysis,
Medical, yeah.
anything medical, the airline is to be able to facilitate that machine.
great. At least you can be able to travel and without having the fear of, oh God, what am I going to do? Of course, there are dialysis centers or clinics where you can go do that. But, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, having yours, you have more flexibility as to what you can do. Oh, that's awesome. So, like, how many sessions do you do? Like,
So everything's all prescription. Or the doctor orders what.
okay,
So for me, my doctor orders every other day. So every other day, so it's like
like
roughly
4 days
4 days,
a
five
week.
days a week, for 6 hours.
Okay.
And actually I want 4 6 hours because I realize that that's my sweet spot. That's what makes me feel better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I might cheat for 4 hours, but I get tired. So the next day I want to push myself and go 4 hours.
Okay.
Um, Especially if I if I'm going to work and I need to like feel really good, and won't definitely want to do 6 hours, so I have the energy to keep up.
Oh, okay. That's great. So, can you live on dialysis? Like someone with kidney disease, is
Um,
dialysis sufficient enough? And if yes, like how long?
Gosh, that's a good question. So far I've been on this thing for 5 years, and I'm so grateful. And sometimes I pinch myself and say, "Wow, do I still look? I still look okay."
Of course, you still do.
I still look good in a way, and I'm grateful. But we've come a long way, especially in the Western world, in the United States. People live in this thing um, 20, 30 years. In fact, there are more people now, if you do the research, there are more people now in their 70s, their 80s on dialysis, right? Um, it wasn't the case 20, 30 years ago. So the resources and the resources out there, there's a lot more resources there, and the technology has improved, you know. So as long as you have a vein, as long as you have access,
Mm.
you can do it.
Oh,
um
because I also read, I mean, online that in the United States they have about 37 million people that have kidney failure.
yeah, 37 million people on kidney
Yeah.
on dialysis just shows the pandemic. It just shows this is like in itself a pandemic. And
It's alarming.
Yeah, and that's why you have, and that is why talk like this is important, and that is why a particular month is dedicated to it, whereby um, awareness needs to be brought up. Like, oh, do regular check up to know how your body is doing, and check
Yeah.
up to see all of that because early detection, like we said earlier, and regular checkup, managing blood pressure, any other thing, has a long way to go in creating all of this kind of awareness and possibly if it's not the ones that are genetic to be able to have had some um, chronic problems.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like we've been talking about the pros, like the advantages of having home dialysis. Can you tell us, even if it's one or two, like disadvantages of home?
oh gosh, I guess the disadvantage would just be how time consuming it is.
Oh, okay.
um for me, sitting down there again, I'm talking from my own experience. Some people like to do it in the center for like 3 days a week, 3, 4 hours. It works for them. But for me, it's 6 hours. It's time consuming to sit in there. But at the same time, I know the quality of life I have. Um,
You can trade that.
I can't trade that off at all.
Yeah.
So the advantages is having better quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And another of the disadvantage is like, of course, every good thing sometimes also having things that you should watch for, right? One good thing why they do it in the clinic is you have people watching over you. You
Oh,
have the nurses that are there, you have the tech that are there, and you can just sleep off and forget about yourself because somebody will always come to attend to the alarm, right?
okay.
One of the disadvantage in doing it at home is that sometimes you could run into complications. Though this dialysis company, they have remote people that can walk you through once your machine, of course, it's a machine that is being used. There could be some technical difficulties sometimes. I remember one time we had technical problem, or we slept off and the alarm beep beep. Nobody woke up, and
yes.
the needle pulled off. And by the time we woke up, there was a lot of pool of blood. That can be scaring for some
Yeah.
people, right? And that was like scary for us. But because of maybe we're healthcare workers, so like if somebody's not dying, and you know what you should check when such things happen. So those are some of the downsides. What if you sleep and somebody just bleed, and that could lead to death eventually.
Yeah.
Um, and also you could have technical problem of power failure some
Okay.
while
Yeah.
a month some while ago you don't have a backup for your machine, and maybe thunderstorm, and you're in the midst of dialysis. You will end up wasting the blood because of well, not wasting the blood. You could manually return the blood, but those are some things that you cannot control when you're doing it at home. But while you're in the center, you those things can be controlled because you have other professionals that are watching you.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to follow up on that. It's not as bad as she puts it, right? Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You have to be brave for your health.
Yeah, so and that is a training that comes with it.
So the first thing you talk about, we slept off, and there was a pool of blood. Um, Listen, after that happened, I had to. You ask yourself, okay, how do I correct this? How do I prevent this? And you have to have that kind of thinking, this kind of mindset when you are in this particular situation, right? And I've been doing it for 5 years. That only happened once, and so that
Yeah,
particular
you're
day,
very careful and very like you pay more attention. Sometimes I sleep and just leave you there.
I think it's one of that. I think you have to ask yourself what happened, what are the steps, and you have to think it through and try to figure out what the solution was, right? I think that particular day was I slept. I turned around. You're sleeping and then you turn,
Yeah.
right? So when I turned, right, that's when you need to pull up,
Oh,
right? So I told myself, okay, so when you go to bed, you never turn. When you go to bed, you just lay down at one particular spot. You
Yeah.
can move here and there, you could jiggle here and there, but you're not turning. Because by when you turn, there's a chance that the needle is going to pull off, right?
yeah.
So uh, you have to be aware. You have to be aware of the process. You have to be aware of the circumstance, the scenario. You have to think in your head what scenario could go wrong and plan ahead and you need to mitigate the risk. Everything in life has risk,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So you have to train yourself and you have to think for yourself what could go wrong, and you have to be able to think ahead. Otherwise, you're going to be paralyzed with fear. When you get
Yes.
paralyzed with fear, you end up well. And let me speak for myself. I'm going to be at the center, and that means that I will not be able to live the kind of quality of life I want to live. And so you have to be very proactive in this space. Um, you have to be very proactive about it. You just don't want to just come in there and thinking fate, 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 fate.
Yeah.
You just can't put the name of Jesus and you're not you're not constantly thinking, constantly being aware of what you can do to mitigate your risk. Because that in itself is the faith. That is the self, is God giving you the wisdom
Faith
to
is
Yes.
deal
action,
with
so
this.
you're
Yeah.
Of
technically
course, yeah.
taking
Yeah.
responsibility.
So
Yeah.
you having that wisdom to be always thinking on how to mitigate the issue. Uh, the other thing that you talked about was the power failure. Yeah, this happened 6 months ago when we have storm in
So
Oh
Sacramento.
yeah.
It happened twice actually when there was a power failure. I knew right away. As soon as the power went off, I was like, "Oh no, okay." And I was like, "Wait." There was always like to come back in 2 minutes. He usually comes back 2 minutes. He come back, and the blood is
It's the
sitting down
same thing.
there.
Oh
Blood is
my God.
the blood is not circulating at all
yeah.
between the machine and my body. So that stagnation of that blood could now begin to clot. And if it does clot, you can't return it back to your body because you're going to introduce clot into your system and you're going to, it could lead to stroke. So immediately, within, I know that, okay, we have like a time window of
Within
like
like
two,
three to
two,
five
2 to
minutes.
3 minutes, and we return the blood
Okay.
and we call it a day and didn't bother about it.
Yeah.
Until the power, I think power came back the next day. But that wasn't bad. If there was no power for a couple of days, right, I have priority called ER and go to the ER
Okay.
and
So you
and,
have
and
a
get dialyzed.
Yes.
And that's what they recommend, for those form dialysis. Um, because they had that issue in Texas where people couldn't, where for Texas it was much like weeks, days went by before they restore power.
Yeah.
So
oh,
yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and then before you were being before you started doing the home dialysis, did you go through some trainings? Okay, so
of
how was
course,
I mean how was it?
we did about months of dialysis
It goes
of
something
training,
like for like 12 weeks. So
but we actually shorter than that.
yes, well, you cut it short based on everybody has like different level of expertise, and we say this because some of the things might be sounding very easy. That's because we're both nurses and we have like this fundamental knowledge of like, okay, how to relate with patient and things like that.
Yeah.
But for like people that have nothing to do with like hospital healthcare, I know this will be
Daunting, but
very daunting and overwhelming. But most of the dialysis center, they have a program because they want to encourage people to take ownership. They give you training for up to like 3 months for about 12 weeks,
Oh,
and they assess you every time of the journey to make sure that you are okay to do it. And never a time will they force you if you think that you don't want to do it. So there's always an assessment to um to go through.
okay.
But because for us we had like prior healthcare knowledge, it was easy for us to be able to jump through, and we just did it for like a week. And also with my work, I've also done like previous things
Okay.
on dialysis.
Okay, so that's really helpful. At least there's you're gonna go through some trainings on how
Yes,
to use it while you're home.
yeah, they have training, and they also have 24/7 line you could call. There's always a nurse you could call,
Oh, okay.
and they're always like technical people that will walk you through process. So do you have pretty good support, but it comes with time, with courage to be able to deal with it if you've not done such things before.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, the support center. Because there's some technical issues that you might encounter with the machine. Um, so you might not know how to troubleshoot it. So you just call technical support. They could walk you through it, which is helpful. But of late, we've not had that. We've not had much of any. In the beginning, we used to have a lot of technical stuff, a lot of
Yeah, and
technical
that's
issues.
because we've done it over
Uh,
time. And each of
right.
the alarm they have a number. So if you see number five, you're like, oh, I've seen number five. If number five means that something is all like king. So
Okay,
you just go
yeah.
and twist it. But if you've not seen number five before, you don't know what to like, oh, number five, and the red alarm is beeping. I know, and one thing they also added recently, and some you have, and it's not just one company that does like dialysis things. And as technology progresses, now there are some companies where you could actually have a iPad, kind of like a mini computer, and somebody real time can talk to you.
Oh, okay.
And so they're trying to use technology to make it more easier, where somebody is remote. You know how you have like a little kid and you have the camera that watch
Yeah.
them and you can see from your room what is happening.
Yeah.
Some company now have that kind of system whereby
Okay.
while you're on treatment, there's kind of course, with AI right now,
Yeah.
somebody can watch you 24/7. And so they're trying to make it pretty easy,
Okay.
whereby if you see any alarm, you know what that alarm is, and somebody can talk you through the process. And I think that is helping to give people more confidence to do it.
Well, that's good. At least they're also trying to encourage people to be able to have that option to do the
Mm,
dialysis from home.
yes.
So, are there any side effects of dialysis?
Of side effect of doing
After
dialysis.
you finish
Yeah, like
I
dialysis.
after
think
you
the only
finish.
side effect you get, it's something you get really dizzy, but that depends on how much fluid you're taking off, right? If you're taking too much fluid, you can get really dizzy afterwards. So you need to like weigh yourself before you start, take your blood pressure, and then you take the fluid based on your weight and the target weight.
Okay.
But I don't so much have any side effects because the longer you're on the machine, right? The body it takes off the fluid slowly, and your body adjusts appropriately accordingly. But if you only running for 3-4 hours, you run it on very high pressure, and the machine is pulling it very fast, and that could lead to cramps,
Yeah.
right? Um, that could lead to fatigue. But there are ways there are ways you can get around that. You want to elaborate more on that?
A side effect of the dialysis, and like we said before, somebody going into dialysis means like your kidney already like failed and is not functioning that is the way that it is. And dialysis cannot give you the function that your natural kidney will do.
Okay.
So that individual will still have to deal with some level of fatigue. We still have to deal with some level of things that the body will not be able to do itself.
Okay.
But the goal for every dialysis is two main things that the dialysis is supposed to do. Because one thing that the kidney does, the normal body kidney does, when it helps you to excrete urine, like, okay, if I call like pee or urine,
Yeah.
that's one great, the one of the main function, right, is to excrete urine. So imagine if that kidney is not working, what happens is that the fluid that should come out as urine is now accumulated in your body. That's number one. And also the toxins, it means like the things that are not good for your body that comes out into the urine is not coming out. So you have both the excess water in your body and you also have the toxins in
Yeah.
there. So
Mhm.
dialysis helps to get out the excess water that your body does not need, and it also helps to get out the toxins from your blood. So the main thing in setting up dialysis, the goal every day is always do checking the weight, so that you always have to like measure, the person has to measure their weight to make sure that they don't take too much water that they should take off.
Okay.
And that is how, and they also, the toxins is depends on the regular blood work that they also do during dialysis. That's gonna tell, okay, how much of things that needs to be excreted out or not.
And I have to say, part of the treatment of dialysis, it's not just when you're on dialysis.
Yeah.
There's a regular medication that you have to be on.
Yeah.
You have to be on epogen,
Cool.
and you have to be on iron,
Okay.
To
um,
supplement
to
your kidney
supplement your
functions.
kidney function, because your kidney tells your bone to produce this red bone marrow. And since your kidney is not working, you have to take something called epogen, a medication, an injection. It's either like injection, or it's IV.
Oh.
Um, so it tells your body, and that cuts down on the fatigue,
Yeah.
right? It helps improve your fatigue level. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to take epogen,
Okay.
and then
For
every
the
two
iron.
weeks, I'll take iron
Okay.
to boost my red blood cells. And
And that's the importance why every month, once on dialysis, the individual gets to do like you get the blood and you
Work.
send that blood to the lab to see, okay, what is the progress, how like the different your maybe potassium, what the different necessary minerals, are
Mm.
they in good condition, is it too low, is it too high? Then your professional, either your doctors or your nurses, will have to adjust the treatment.
Oh,
So there's
wow.
regular checking every month
Oh,
to check on that too.
oh, that's great. I mean, like you need to be on constant communication too
Monitoring,
and
yes,
monitoring
yes,
too with
yes.
your doctor as well. Oh, okay. So I mean, from all you've mentioned today, you can actually live a good quality life even while on dialysis. So you can
You could.
exercise, you can
Yeah.
travel, but of course, you still have to watch what you eat.
So which one you eat? Um, so I have I don't have much restrictions because I do it at home.
Okay.
I do run for 6 hours. So I eat pretty much anything I want to eat or drink.
Sounds good.
Um, but if you're a more stringent,
Caution,
yeah, with caution.
with caution, everything is
Well,
moderation.
so as opposed to if you're in the center and you only want running 3 hours and you're running for 3 days, then you can't drink a lot. You can't drink a lot of fluid. You have to literally limit your fluid intake. Um, but I'm fortunate that I could run every other day for 6 hours. So I just don't. I mean, I just I mean, I drink. I drink myself well enough,
Okay.
but I just don't drink water or soda. So I usually just have ice. I will suck on ice.
Oh,
So I don't over I don't over have too much fluid in my system. Uh, Eating, I when you have kidney failure, sometimes you have very low appetite, right? So when it comes to eating, I get I have to eat a variety of different kind of food, and I get easily bored just eating the same thing over and over. So if you cook one pot of soup,
And that's why I don't
one
cook
pot
a lot
of
of
soup,
soup.
right? It's like maybe cook one my favorite egusi soup, right? Or banga soup.
oh, no.
So you cook that, I might eat that like one or like in the week. I might eat that one or twice a week, and I'm done.
No, okay.
I can't eat anymore. So I have to have constantly have different variety, different kind of food.
Okay.
And then what I do is like uh, I eat small portions, like eat frequently, like small portions in the morning, small portions in the afternoon, small portions in the evening, just to
Okay.
keep up with my strength. Because sometimes you can really get. It's not uncommon to have very low appetite when
and
you're
lose weight.
lose weight when you're on kidney failure. Uh,
Yeah.
so some of the foods that you need to not avoid, but you have to limit. Something have to a lot of tomatoes.
So for the diet, right, for dialysis or for any kind of kidney renal disease, right, the fundamental thing, as much as you have to eat balanced diet, but look at it this way: you have, if your kidneys that you were created with was there, it's supposed to be able to filter all of this without you worrying what you eat. Though you still have to eat clean and eat in moderation. But now that kidney is not functioning. You now have something else, a machine that is helping to do the work. So it's not going to be able to do it as the original kidney that you are supposed to have it. And the two big things that most people, or maybe three, the blood, I mean the um the lab values that one needs to watch out for most times is the potassium and the phosphorus. So, as a general rule, for people on dialysis, they tell you do not eat food that are high in potassium. Why? Because a very high potassium can it can lead to a very serious cardiac problem, as high as like cardiac attack, right? So because you don't have your original kidneys doing that, the rule is you have to eat those food in moderations.
Okay.
And a very common food that is high in potassium is like banana and
Yeah.
some other fruit. Then for the phosphorus, which tomato as like African people with like a lot of stew,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
it's a staple, right?
if there's too
Yeah.
much phosphorus in your body, which most people that are on dialysis, you notice that they are itching a lot.
Oh.
So it's because of too much phosphorus, and that is why most times for people on dialysis, they will always give them a supplement that helps to reduce the, sometimes they call it different name like phosphlo, but it's kind of like a phosphorus supplement, such that the excess phosphorus from the food can be binded adequately. So to reduce all of those things is just reduce food iron like potassium and then phosphorus,
Phosphorus.
just to avoid some of the other side effects that come with it. And of course, the other regulations about the kind of meat and things, and which, of course, it's always important. Like I said, this is no professional advice.
Yeah.
Work with your dietitian, and there are so many resources, not just Google, not Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Make sure you're working with your professional, your dietitian, because everybody is different and they're going to give you like the recommended thing for that is good for your body.
So again, so the rice and stew,
Yeah.
it's not something I'm going to be able to like eat every day.
Yeah.
Like it's not, it can't be a staple. You gotta throw in some pasta in there for me. You gotta throw in some different kind
Variety
of
is the spice
varieties of
of life,
food,
right?
you know.
Variety is the spice of life.
Um,
How more colorful the food is
so
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's on the diet part, and it's essential. Always work with your doctor. Even when you're kidney failure, you have all resources. It's not just a doctor; you have nutritionist, and that is part of your team. That you reach out to those team. The nurses are also well versed in that to help you with that. So
So there are lots of resources
yeah, yeah,
available.
and you want to cut down on your salt intake as
Sodium.
much as possible.
Processed food, any kind of processed food, you want to reduce it
Yeah.
as much as possible.
But once in a while, I indulge in processed food. I won't lie. I indulge in fast food once in a while.
And like general
So,
rule for people
so
that are in
indulge
places,
once in a while.
Like
Not a pattern.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
maybe like once a month.
No, maybe
um
once a week.
just
Yeah,
Oh,
once a
that
week.
sounds good.
Once a
Once a
week.
week.
just in moderation. And
Once a week.
if you're watching this in a kind of in a country where or in a place where you don't have ready access to like healthcare, because we know like in some not everywhere have your specialists. They're not easily accessible, and sometimes their healthcare is also expensive, right? But as much as you can, you could also reach out to there are a lot of like support group online, but in moderation, just because not everybody can have the privilege of having this whole dietitian and all that. But if you in your diet, just ensure that you're eating things, and online you have pretty good requirement, but just check with professional. You could check online to see any kind of support group that is in there too.
That's great. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about dialysis, and at the beginning we talked about like the different options, the different treatments. Dialysis. We also have the kidney transplant. So, I mean, we'll now diverse into talking about the transplants, and of course that's like replacing the diseased
The
kidney
disease kidney.
with another like healthy kidney, right?
Mhm.
And then so kidney transplants, is that a permanent solution to kidney failure?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Transplant basically is, yeah, it's a kidney you're receiving either from a cadaver or a living donor. So a cadaver is someone that died, and within hours of after the person died, they harvest that organ, that kidney, and they treat it, preserve it, and get it ready for transplant. So basically, they could fly that they could fly that 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 organ within 24 hours to any location in the United States, basically, um, and ready for you. So if they have if they have an organ, they will tell you, "Hey, we got a transplant. Come to the hospital." Being in the hospital in 2 3 hours. Why that organ itself is flying from
So
Oregon to California. Wonderful. That's how beautiful the system works. Um, the other option is a living donor, where somebody else could offer their kidney to me. And actually, a friend of mine at the church that we attended actually offered me a kidney. right? After, and then he went through he was a wonderful guy. Um, he went through, I don't want to mention his name just in case of privacy,
Yeah.
but uh, he went through the workup. He went through, because you have to go through a workup.
Yeah,
Your
because they're
doctor,
not just gonna take somebody's kidney and give. They have
yeah,
to make sure that person is also okay
had
enough, and you don't
healthy,
want to
and
put the other person at any jeopardy
exactly.
ethically.
So they did the workup, and he, it was not advantageous to him to give me his kidney at that point. So we had to we had to regroup again. And so yeah, so you could have people who donate their kidneys. Um, my wife was offering a kidney, but the nephrologist told her not to do that because she's
Since I
still
was
in
like a primary care.
childbearing
Oh,
age,
okay.
that she has to be done with having her kids before she consider giving her kidneys.
And not just so to clarify that, right? And this month actually is like organ donor month. We're also creating like more awareness, right? Let me say something, right? So donating is something, organ donation. I know, especially in the US, when you do your driver license, they ask you, okay, do you want to be a donor? We don't hope anybody dies, but just look at it like if something happens to you, your life can be generated life to somebody else, right? So, and I know there's this misconception to say, oh, if I put that I'm a donor, something happens to me, you're going to be abandoned. That is not correct. I work at a hospital, and that is just a misconception. Um, and the body has two kidneys, right? And God made it so wonderful whereby one kidney enough is able to sustain an individual. But why do we have to, just in case one of it gets failed, the other person can, the individual can also have access to the other one. Okay, to donate a kidney. Actually, when we 2 years into when we learned about the diagnosis, and there are different ways, and I know for every country is also like different. I wanted to donate for my husband because we were the same blood group.
Oh,
But
okay.
donation, that is why you should know that even though you want to donate, things are done rightly. They're not just
Yeah.
gonna take your kidney and okay, you and put the other person at disadvantage. They're gonna go through the process to make sure that the other person will not be in danger of anything. Like in my case, we've not had any babies, and because also the primary caregiver, it was not gonna be it was not advantageous because I also have to be like in perfect state, right? But even if you're in child bearing
Age.
age,
Yeah.
the kidneys can also, or any organs that anybody needs can also be donated. And also, when you donate a kidney, it does not mean that if anything happened to the person that you
Yeah.
donate, nothing happens to you. I know there's also a misconception about,
Yeah.
oh, what if I give my kidney to somebody? It means half of my life is with
It's
somebody.
yeah.
And if anything happened to that person, it means that it will happen to me. Science is not like that because everything works independently. Your kidney without person is you've just given out of the kindness of your heart, and God bless you if ever you've donated to do that. And if you've nursed, I know it's not a easy decision, but
Yeah.
if there's a need that comes and you think you're a good match, and there are different ways to, of course, you always hear about, oh, this is a perfect match and no perfect match. And with technology now, there are ways they could do different 2 pass, 3 pass, and just exchange it that way. So donating is very good. If you've not put that on your driver license, consider doing that. And if you have family member that is also in need of maybe kidney, heart, or no, you can only donate your kidneys because you only have two.
Two.
Two. You cannot donate your heart while you're
Of
still
course.
alive because you only have
Oh no, that
one
means you
hand.
want to
Yeah,
die.
yeah. I take that back. So, but for kidneys, because you have to, while you're still alive, you can be a living donor to somebody, and it's just beautiful if you can see that person. You're giving your life to that person to live again.
Essentially, you actually I have to say something there to qualify that. You just actually you're giving a gift of life. That's what it
Yes.
is. You're giving someone a gift of life, and helping the person see their kids, giving the person 10, 15 years of their life,
Yeah.
quality life. It's a good thing. But those are discussions that you need to have in consultation with your doctor, in consultation with your spouse, whoever,
Family
your
member.
family members. Um, but I do think one of the takeaways that I want to try to encourage here is that for people who who have family members in this, or you know someone that you're working with, to actually consider it, to have a discussion, think about it. Sometimes to just like allow yourself to think about it, allow yourself to talk about it, um, as opposed to just block it, you know, have a dialogue about it. I think that's one of the reasons why that we want to have, we're willing to like having this discussion to create this awareness.
Yeah, and I hope to, I know because I also have like extended people that need. I know like in 5 years' time, I will be donating one of my kidney by the grace of God if we're still alive and there's needing all perfected.
Correction, if we're still alive. I
Well,
don't,
if
I don't,
Jesus
hold on,
Christ,
hold on,
if
hold on.
Jesus Christ does not
Yeah,
come,
alive
no, no,
in
no.
the next 5 years.
If Jesus Christ does not come, if we're still on this earth, let me
Exactly.
clarify that.
I do
If
intend to
we're
leave.
still live forever,
I do intend to live till a ripe, a ripe
Age.
age.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
And so if we're still on this earth, I hope to donate my kidney in about 5 years' time.
Yeah, so that means someone can live with one kidney, can live a normal life with just one kidney.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It
That
is.
that's that's
That
nice.
person also has to, because you also have one kidney, you've given a part. It does not make it does not make that person sick, but that doesn't mean you have to also be watching, ensure that you're in good health, like still regular checkup.
Checkup. Okay.
You don't necessarily have to be taking any medicine if you
Okay.
don't have any disease condition, but it just calls for regular checkup because you want to make sure that you're taking good care of yourself because you've given parts of yourself.
So I have to say, um, like I said, this stuff runs in my family. Some of my siblings have it. So my brother um, received kidneys from my brother-in-law.
Wow.
My brother-in-law was well, around 63, 64, about 65 by the time he gave my brother his kidney. He's now pushing almost 78,
Oh
still
Yeah,
wow.
alive,
Okay.
still alive,
right?
still
So
strong, and
So
um,
it does not matter the age. Like even if you're in your 60s, you can
I
still
can't speak
donate.
for that. You gotta
Oh, okay.
you
you
gotta
work
you
with a
gotta consult
professional.
with your doctor, in consultation with your doctor. They should run the appropriate tests, the
Yeah.
appropriate workup, to see if you healthy enough, because this stuff shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yes.
It should be done in conjunction with the
A
professional.
well professional guidance. It's very important. So and also we know also like and will I say just creating the awareness. We know that just like we have human trafficking, there's also a lot of like organ trafficking.
Yeah.
People are being taken in a deceit, like, oh, we're taking you to somewhere to give you a better life, and they are being jeopardized and their organs are sold. My heart goes to family, or if you know anybody that has been in such kind of thing, I well hope that doesn't happen because it's not a good thing. If you've lost anyone from all those kind of organ traffic,
Yeah.
my heart goes to you. But just be mindful of that when people come sometimes, especially in some other part of the world where they will say, oh, I'm just gonna take you abroad or take you to somewhere else. Be very sure when people just come to give you favors like that of travel, because with the greed and you some people's hearts are really wicked. They just give you all those sweet words and take you to another country
Yeah.
and
True.
harvest the organs. So just safety, and always ask questions and clarify when people are telling you something so much about like traveling, and don't fall victim of those organs harvesters.
I just want to say, this is the area of ethics
Yeah.
right now. Um, I would say if you don't give your kidneys because someone is giving you money.
Yes.
If you're gonna give your kidney to someone, give it out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah.
Don't be induced by someone saying that, oh, I'm gonna pay you money, I'm gonna pay you money, or I'm gonna give you something in return. Um, do it out of the goodness of your heart. Because I tell you, even if you give this kidney, and they've done the workup, nothing is guaranteed. Anything could still go wrong,
Yeah.
right? And no amount of money the person have paid you will be enough.
Yeah.
But I think you will have peace in your heart that you did it out of the goodness of your heart.
Sure.
And vice versa for the people too who is looking for kidney. I mean, don't I wouldn't offer anybody money to give me a kidney. Um, it should come because someone is willing to help. It should come because of a compassion. And that compassion itself, it is God. It is the Heavenly Father that puts that compassion in someone's heart to motivate someone to be able to give something that precious,
Yeah.
right? So when you're talking about this, there should not be any transaction at all, financial transaction, you know. Otherwise, you get too induced into these things and you won't even think it right. You won't even think it straight,
Yeah.
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 you know, and that's where people start cutting corners. And if a doctor was part of that transaction when you're taking money and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the chances that people want to cut corners because the medical team want something to benefit, and they won't be as objective as they should be. And that's the reason why in the United States they don't accept they don't accept any compensation.
Monetary
You
compensation.
know, it must be done from willingness in your
Restrictively.
heart. It must be it has to something of you are being magnanimous. That means that you are more than just good. You're a good person. You want to see, so you're not motivated. Your goodness is not motivated by what you gain. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so sort of emphasize that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and really thank you for saying that because like I watched an interview where Selena Gomez was talking about her friend who donated a kidney to her, and she was like, you practically saved my life, and that's something that she will never forget, for the rest of her life
Yep.
because she did that. And like you said, when you exchange things like that for money, you don't see the value of what you have done because you got something in return. But when you are getting like a priceless gift back,
Yeah.
that has more weight, to be able to live a fulfilled life. That, oh yes, I've been able to give this, because it's a big thing, it's a big
Oh
sacrifice,
yeah.
because this is something from your body that you're giving out to somebody else.
Mm.
And of course the person will appreciate you like for the rest of your life. So thank you for really emphasizing on that. So um of course, I know you are not a doctor, and actually this depends on the type of, maybe the level or the type of the disease like that a person has. From your own opinion, which do you think is better? I mean, is it either dialysis or kidney transplants?
Transplant, of course.
Transplant is
I
because I
mean, it's
mean,
relative. It's relative. Okay, I'll
so
let you talk.
so so again, going to transplant requires your body to be healthy,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna be cut open, and so you need to be healthy. Your heart need to be healthy to
Yeah.
withstand surgery. Otherwise, you could just die on the table.
Oh my God.
Like so, yeah. So it's like your doctor. You have to go to workup to see how healthy you are, and that's the reason why you have to stay healthy if you're looking for transplant. You have to,
Good habit.
you know, you have to stay healthy so you can go through the surgery if need be. So again, um, transplant is always a good option. I mean, I can't, gosh, I have my American passport. I mean, I would love to go to Europe in a heartbeat. I would love to go to Kenya in a heartbeat and not worry about dialysis or how I would love to go travel different parts of Africa.
Just,
Um,
And don't think about like
and
because
don't even think about the logistics of my kidney
yeah,
issue, you know,
or doing dialysis.
you know. Um, so if I have a transplant, it would be
If you have an option.
if I have an
kidney
option,
transplant.
I would love to go for it.
But it
Um,
comes with its own responsibility. because and one big thing about transplant, and people could decide not to have transplant for some religious reason, and that is also respected.
Yeah.
This is just our opinion. Not like it's a general thing, it's our opinion
Yeah.
about it. Because transplant also comes, and a big responsibility is having to take the medicine, because now you have somebody's health body in your body, and there's your body, the body tends to feel like, oh, something is foreign that is happening here, this is not my natural
Yeah.
body. And the way God made the body is that it's just like when we have any disease, you have this old fever and all that, which is your body trying
Yeah.
to fight out those disease.
True.
The same way your body will try to fight that kidney, like, this is not my body, this
Yeah.
doesn't feel like me.
Even your brain
Yeah,
too, your
so
mindset
everything
to be
about your
working in
body,
the
and
best
that
way.
is why sometimes, and not all transplant are successful, because some person's body might not be able to fight off the rejection. Though with technology, it's getting better, whereby they are now getting better ways to deal with those kind of rejection. But most patients that have had transplant has to take like an anti-rejection medicine, like almost all times, all the for the rest of their life, because you have to, you, and it's not like it's a pill that you have to take, which is gonna be monitored regularly, because you have to continually tell your body that I want this kidney to stay
Yeah.
here, and that medicine helps the body to do that.
So even though like all the tests that has been run,
Yeah,
it shows that okay, yes, this is a good match. The
yeah.
body can still reject it.
The body can, yeah. But with
Body, see,
technology,
so here's the thing, right? The body sees this organ as foreign.
as foreign.
So what's happened, the medication she's talking about is to suppress your immune system, to suppress that natural reaction to tell your body to like fight this kidney, I want to get rid of it, right? So by suppressing that,
Yeah.
right, your natural immune system is reduced, is shut down.
Mm.
That makes you more susceptible to the cold. So you have to make sure you take your vaccines. Otherwise, you can easily get infected. So you're more predisposed to infection. So for example, like me, for example, I didn't joke around with my COVID vaccination. As soon as the booster was available, I took the booster. You know,
Okay.
so if you compromise, when you compromise, um, uh, either by having kidney failure or by having by taking immunosuppressant
Anti-rejection
drugs
medicine.
or anti-rejection drugs, um, you you just have to play it safe, basically.
Mm.
Um, but it is still worth it,
Yeah,
you know.
in the advantage and disadvantage of whether the dialysis, or because transplant has all these responsibilities, I would say that in my opinion, will still take a transplant, because it's easier to maintain and deal with than not having it at all. And it's okay, whatever decision anybody makes
Somebody, yeah.
is respected.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what you decide to do if
Decide to do
given both
the
options, and of
options, yeah.
course, consult with your
Of
doctor as
course, you
well.
can't do any of this without professional advice and assistance.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
Right.
I'm so glad. I mean, we really covered a whole lot when it comes to the treatment of kidney disease, and you've really made a very, very good um deal about like how passionate you both are. I mean, I can also see that you're very, very passionate about um to see your husband really, really better. And I'm happy to hear that you offered to donate, but you really couldn't at the time because of the other conditions that are being that are involved.
Mhm.
So that's really great to hear. And of course, for this part, we're gonna end here. And so thank you guys for watching, and then watch out for the final part. So see you next episode.